Sometimes, a moment is more than just a moment. It's a tremor, a subtle shift in the landscape that signals a much larger earthquake is on its way. On Friday night, in a packed arena in Prior Lake, Minnesota, we didn't just witness a fight. We witnessed a tremor. We witnessed the arrival of GABLE STEVESON. For 98 seconds, less time than it takes to make a cup of coffee, an Olympic gold medalist, a wrestling phenom who has already stood on the highest peak of athletic achievement, showed the world that he's ready to climb a new, more dangerous mountain. And watching from his corner, with an approving and knowing gaze, was the man who has long been king of that mountain, Jon Bones Jones. This wasn't just a dub-at. This was a statement. This was the beginning of a story that we'll all be telling for years to come. The winding road to the cage. To understand the weight of these 98 seconds, you have to understand the journey that led to them. GABLE STEVESON is not your typical prospect. We're talking about a man who, at the tender age of 21, captured the gold medal in freestyle wrestling at the Tokyo Olympics in the most dramatic fashion imaginable. He was on top of the world, a prodigy, with a smile as golden as his hardware. The world was his oyster. So what came next? The path seemed laid out for him. Many expected him to transition directly to the UFC, where his world-class wrestling could make him an immediate and terrifying threat in the heavyweight division. But life is rarely a straight line. Instead, Steveson took a detour. First, he stepped into the larger-than-life world of the WWE, signing a contract to become a sports entertainer. Then, he answered the call of a different kind of gridiron, joining the NFL's Buffalo Bills. For a young man with such immense physical gifts, it felt like he was searching, trying on different futures to see which one fit. Neither stuck. And isn't that something we can all relate to? The search for our true calling. The courage to admit when something isn't the right fit, even when it looks glamorous from the outside. For Steveson, the glitz of WWE and the structure of the NFL weren't where his heart was. His heart, it seems, craved the raw, honest, and unforgiving test of the octagon. He chose to return to the world of combat, not on the wrestling mat where he was a king, but in the cage, where he was a complete unknown. He chose to start over. A masterpiece of controlled chaos. Stepping into the cage at LFA 217, Steveson wasn't just fighting his opponent, Braden Peterson. He was fighting the crushing weight of expectation, the whispers of his past ventures, and the silent question in everyone's mind. Is he for real? His opponent, a 37-year-old former police officer, was no pushover. With professional and amateur experience, Peterson was there to provide a real test, to welcome the Olympian to the harsh realities of mixed martial arts. The opening bell rang, and the questions began to get their answers. There was no hesitation, no feeling out process. Within the first 20 seconds, Steveson closed the distance, changed levels, and executed a takedown so smooth, so powerful, it was like watching a force of nature at work. It was a clear message. You are now in my world. The canvas of the octagon had become his personal wrestling mat. From there, it was a masterclass in pressure and control. He didn't just hold Peterson down. He flowed, transitioning with the confidence of a man who has spent a lifetime mastering the art of grappling. He immediately worked for a submission at Americana, showing that he's not just a wrestler, but a student of the submission game. Peterson, to his credit, defended. He showed incredible toughness. But there's a difference between surviving and escaping, and against GABLE STEVESON, there was no escape. Once the submission wasn't there, Steveson seamlessly transitioned to what would be the finale, a relentless storm of ground and pound. It wasn't wild or sloppy. It was precise. It was overwhelming. Elbows and punches found their home with terrifying accuracy. The referee watched closely, giving Peterson every chance to defend himself. But the onslaught was too much. 98 seconds after it began, the referee stepped in. It was over. The crowd erupted. A native son had made his triumphant debut, but perhaps the most important reaction came from the man leaning against the cage, wiping a bead of sweat from his own brow. The ultimate endorsement. John Jones knows a thing or two about greatness. Arguably the greatest fighter to ever walk the planet, Jones doesn't hand out praise lightly. He had been training with STEVESON, helping the young prodigy sharpen his new tools. He wasn't just a celebrity guest, he was a mentor. When asked by the LFA broadcast team what makes GABLE so special, Jones's answer sent chills through the MMA community.